Hey, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Millennial Management Podcast. I am your host, Brandy, the Millennial Manager. Today is Monday. If you are inside of Patreon, if you are outside of Patreon, it's Wednesday, bitch, and that's all right, too. Okay. Now, I want to say thank you so much to Patreon for continuing to support the podcast. A huge shout out to everyone that I met at BaddieCon. It was such an amazing event, y'all. I really enjoyed myself. I got a chance to meet so many amazing women. I was on the panel. We discussed so many things like navigating mid-level management, different ways that you can either advocate for yourself, even ways that maybe someone has advocated for you in your growth in your career. It was just so good. So I cannot wait until they release more footage. I did post a short video with the introduction and stuff like that, because I was actually shocked. I was like, y'all want me? Because I be cussing. You sure? You sure y'all got the right one? But they, in fact, did. They did have the right person. It was such a great experience. New York was beautiful. Just wonderful. I mean, I have no negative, comments about the entire event. I met so many nice women that are just accomplished and have done so many amazing things. And we had so many great conversations. Connections were made. The networking that we talk about on the podcast, on social media, that's what the fuck I did this weekend. And I met so many amazing people. It was awesome. So I cannot wait to share more information after they post more content and stuff. And then we'll be going from there. So today is going to be an email episode. We're going to be talking about several different topics. Okay. This one right now is one that I want to just send a cautionary message to you. Okay. Y'all, paranoia sometimes in the workplace, especially if you leave a bad situation and you have PTSD from your other situation, it carries on into your new job, whether you realize it or not. It's not intentional. It's not something that you're looking to do, but it's just something that happens because your body has went through a traumatic experience. Your mind has went through that experience of a bad employee or a bad coworker, or a bad manager, and just a toxic work environment altogether. And now that you've left that toxic work environment, sometimes those same feelings and emotions come up to creep back. Okay. And then that starts paranoia. So I want to start with this one. It's a very short email, and it says, I wanted to know, what should I do when I found out that my so-called work buddy has planned to meet with my former supervisor that I didn't list and I don't like to get dirt on me for my supervisor. Concerned. Signed, Betty. Betty, you don't necessarily know that's the case, right? Unless it came from the person's mouth. You don't know that. So unless they say, hey, I'm going to go and meet with your former boss so that I can get dirt on you and give it to our current supervisor, you don't know that that's actually the case. So I want us to be very cautious with our thoughts, because a lot of times we think things and it instantly becomes reality, and that may not even be the case. I don't know when this meeting was supposed to take place. I got your email 2 days ago, so I hope that you are listening on Wednesday or you are inside of Patreon and you can hear that you should not be paranoid about this. The other portion of this, even if there is something there, if your past manager is saying negative things that affects you professionally right now, you can sue them. You absolutely can, especially if it's a lie, right? You are doing something to sabotage my career going forward. You can send a cease and desist. That you can sit down with an attorney. If you don't want things spoken about from your previous job, I don't know what exactly happened, because there's also no context. There's no background story of why you did not list this manager, why you do not want those two to communicate. I don't necessarily know. But if this person is lying on you, suing is always an option. That is defamation. Okay, they're trying to sabotage your new job. you can sue them for that. And y'all remember I tell y'all about Work Receipts, WRK Receipts. That is the app that Sierra Gross, her name is, or that's her name, Sierra Gross. She's the CEO and founder of Workolution, and she has Cage Bird, which is like HR consulting, and then she also has Work Receipts. And inside of Work Receipts, you can document things, and if you feel the need to reach out to an attorney, you can. And there's a whole like roster of employment attorneys that she can connect you with through this app. And so they'll look over your situation and make a decision on whether or not like this is something you can sue for. But if they're lying and it's published, meaning like they told somebody else and not just said it to you, that's what published means, right? If you ever have to go through a lawsuit, then you can sue them. You can move forward. You can send it a cease and desist. Is it going to cost you some money? Yes, it is. But you need to put your money where your mouth is. If you're really standing on business, you can't prevent these two people from talking, and you don't want to look like a maniac. You need to sue them, okay? Send out a cease and desist before a lawsuit. That's what you're going to have to do. I don't necessarily know what the issue is, like, or what happened in the background, but you can't control that this person is about to say this. They're going to have this meeting. But what you can control is what happens with the information after. So once she's given that information or he's given that information and they send it to your supervisor, if there's any type of retaliation, there's a change of work environment, if you feel like all of a sudden your current manager is micromanaging you and she's basing their information based off of your previous employer, and you feel like there are negative things that were said, or you are even told that there are negative things that were said, things that are not true, things that cannot be proven in the court, cease and desist. Do you understand? Say that with me now. Cease and desist. Use it. Use the law, guys. We have the law on our side. In some situations, we need to use the law. Okay? Okay. All right, on to our next email. This one says, I quit out of frustration and signs of mistreatment. I want to apply for unemployment. How can I explain my story? Basically, someone in my agency told me not to file a discrimination complaint on behalf of one of my claimants who said she had been discriminated against. I was discouraged from filing the complaint. This, along with some instances, is my manager telling me she is jealous of my style and body size. Later, after her cheerleading stopped, she seemed to purposely understand me or misunderstand me. At one point, she said in Teams, I will ruin you. I never said anything, but I made a note of it, okay, and watched her behavior. Also, before I knew this manager for 30 minutes, first day on the job, she said to me, I am not a racist. Should I pursue a discrimination complaint? Yes, you could, but I hope to God you have some more like information that is documented, dated, who was present, that is better than this email. That's all I'm gonna tell you, baby. You could move forward, but you need to have like record information or recorded information that supports your claim. You need to have multiple instances of discrimination, and right now I don't even see one. Okay, jealousy is not against the law. Her saying she's not a racist is not against the law. I think sometimes we have to be very careful about, number one, when we quit. You quit a job out of frustration and signs of mistreatment. What do signs mean? That was possible, not actual. And we deal in actualities around here, okay? In all actuality. But there's no actual mistreatment. You said it yourself in the email. You said you quit out of frustration and signs of mistreatment, but there were no actual like moments of mistreatment in this email. So you have to be very careful about when we just quit a job based off of you being upset or you being frustrated or you just wanting to, move on, and you don't have a plan, and now you need unemployment, and unemployment is not going to happen on your behalf because you quit the job. You don't have any documented, situations other than this email, and there's really nothing there. Like, you would have to get the word of somebody else because somebody else said that she had been discriminated against. You had not. So that's where it's like, are you really going to have the support of somebody else? Did that person quit their job? Probably not. You quit your job based off of what somebody else was dealing with and the one thing that the lady said. But, I mean, to be honest, her saying I'm not a racist, we know. But really, come on now. You can't do shit with that, and you know that. I think y'all really know that you can't do shit with stuff like that, and y'all are just looking for me to tell you that you can. You cannot. There's nothing you can do with this. Signs of mistreatment is not actual mistreatment, and you have to have documented points of where you have been mistreated, where racism was at play, where there was discriminatory behavior at play, sexual harassment. Like, there's nothing. At least not in this email. Okay. So please, I hope that you have a lot of information that supports that. You said that she commented in Teams and said that I will ruin you. Like, what is the context behind the message? What was the message that was sent prior to? Like, what was happening? Because you didn't say she did anything to you other than that. So it's like, what did she say? What was the message before that? Did you take a screenshot? Do you have any information behind the message that she sent? There's just so many things that is just causing holes in the story. And the thing is, if you had to go to court about this, you would have to say reasonable doubt, right? There's a lot of doubt because there is too many holes. I don't know exactly what we're standing on. So I want you to go through your documentation if you have some, and I want you to string together, put together events, and you need to list them as they actually happen, not basically, because also in your email you said basically someone in my agency told me. No, you need to list that person's name. You need to list what you were told. You need to list several documented instances of where your manager has said or done things that were inappropriate, that made you be concerned for your job or made you fear that you were not going to be able to do your job successfully, whatever it is. You need to make sure you're including those things in a complete or completed document to support filing a discrimination complaint. You understand? Thank you. All right. Our next email says, "Hi, Brandy. Hello, ma'am. How are you today? I recently saw your post about insecure managers and you hit the nail on the head about my work situation. My supervisor is deeply insecure, aggressively passive, who rarely provides any feedback, support, or transparency, or even an interest or care, right, about our details of the work. There have been several layoffs throughout the year. At my company, I lost one of my direct reports, and our team has shrunk by more than half. I suspect that my supervisor's desperation to cling onto her job has heightened her insecurity towards me since we've entered this difficult season at the company. I often feel isolated and undermined by her. I should note that I am a stellar performer. It's documented. I've been given several raises each year. There's no documented negative feedback, although she suggested I take a management course, which I am doing. Now, Brandy, I know you are going to say make the exit strategy. I hear you, but in addition to that, what are some ways that I can protect myself? Here's a recent scenario that highlights the passive-aggressive stunts this lady pulls. A coworker shares the same supervisor ambushed me in a meeting in front of our supervisor and one of my direct reports. While I had not done anything wrong, the coworker was asking for things that I am either not responsible for or still well within the usual turnaround time for completion. I feel as though it would it created a scenario where I was unprepared and on the defensive, which could leave a negative impression in the presence of my supervisor, direct reports, and peers. My tone of voice made it pretty clear that I was annoyed during the meeting. The next day, my supervisor had our one-on-one, and she didn't say anything about it. But a couple hours later in our team meeting, she asked me specific follow-up questions related to the ambush items from my coworker the day before. Mind you, this lady who normally has zero interest in the details of the work and practically refuses to contribute her thoughts, ideas, insights. Should I defend myself by emailing the coworker and CCing the supervisor to clarify what's being done and when, or is that doing too much? Thank you. Young, gifted, and apparently a threat. Betty, my dear. So, number one, okay, I do recognize that your manager may be experiencing some type of insecurity because of what's happening. I do feel like that's spot on. Your opinion of that or your thought about that, I think is correct. I agree, right? I think looking at this situation, I feel like she's doing that same thing. But where you say that they're like ambushing you inside of meetings to make you seem like you're unprepared, I do feel like that is a kind of hide your hands attack. And the only way I do feel like you can protect yourself is through, number one, a calm demeanor. Number one, do not seem like you are irritated when the question is asked to you. When they ask that question, you need to seem as cool as a cucumber, especially if you know it is not something that is your actual responsibility. So I would say, like, let's say there's a specific report that John is supposed to turn in, right? And John is on this call, but they didn't ask John. They asked you, right, Betty? So I would say, oh, thank you so much for your interest in that. I do believe that John is responsible for this report. John, do you have an update for us? Like, immediately pass the buck, because they're trying to get you to look unprepared, just like you said. But if you are prepared with, number one, who's supposed to be completing what that timeline is, which that is given by that person, then there is no ability for them to do that. You're just going to have to be very quick on your feet. I do feel like sending an email prior to any meeting with updates is necessary. I do. I feel like you should CC your supervisor on the update or the current status of whatever project you all are working on. So if you're on task A and these are the bullet points that you're going to be working on in task A, this is what we're talking about today. This is the progress on this situation. This is who's responsible for what. And I hope we can follow up in our meeting. Thank you so much and have a great day. And this is how you're going to be direct. I know that some people are going to say, well, they don't like when you're direct. You have to be. You cannot cower down in a situation like this, because I feel like they are singling you out to make you seem like you're unprepared. You're not able to really articulate, communicate, because you've been caught off guard. So when they do shit like that, you need to be on the defensive. Just not look defensive. You can't look defensive. You have to look like you don't give a fuck and you are just organized. But by defending yourself via email, in a calculated email that explains exactly what everyone's supposed to be doing and what the timeline looks like prior to meetings, and then turn around in the meeting when they try to ask you a question like that, redirect them to the person who is supposed to have that information. Just like that. I'm not sure what the background conversation is like for your coworker and your manager, but this is just like a little ambush that people do when they're insecure. Just like you said, you read the situation right, but I do feel like the way that you deal with it, you have to be a little more calculated, and you also have to not let your emotions get in the way. You being annoyed right now is exactly what they want, and you have to act like it does not fucking bother you one bit. Okay? You understand? Say yes. Thank you. All right, everybody. Today's podcast is over. I hope that you all enjoyed as much as I did. I'm so glad we got a lot of emails to go through. I'm thinking I'm going to do another email episode actually on this Friday. I hope y'all have a good ass day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.